Nation of Fit in 10, it is day 41 of the challenge. Your scan is going to happen most likely on Saturday or Sunday. And I want to remind you that you should come to the scan empty stomach. You should not do any exercise prior to the scan, at least not within at least 12 hours, I would say. No caffeine within 12 hours, no alcohol within 24 hours. Well, it should be no alcohol within the last 41 days, really. But anyways, no heavy clothing, no metals on the body. Okay, so no earrings or rings of any kind, necklaces, no metal in your bra. And ladies, if it's that time of the month for you, you need to rebook, okay? All right. I just want to remind you that there are some of you who have mentioned that you need protein powder. I do carry it. I carry a very good brand. There are other good brands out there, but just be careful what you buy. Do not look for deals on protein powder, because I can tell you for sure if it's not pharmaceutical grade and it's a good price, it's not what you're getting. Because whey isolate, okay, I'm talking about whey isolate here. I should specify that. Whey is highly expensive. You're not going to get a good quality whey protein powder for a cheap price, okay? And whey is what I would recommend. It's just very bioavailable. It's highly bioavailable. It's got a higher rating than egg. Egg used to be the gold standard for dietary protein. Even it has a higher rating than that. Of course, if you're a vegetarian, or I should maybe say specifically more a vegan, then obviously you're not going to have that. Go with something more along the lines of hemp or perhaps pea protein. I think hemp is probably a little more bioavailable than pea protein. And obviously I would limit your soy. I wouldn't have too much soy. Okay? But if you need protein powder, I do have it. If you want to try some, let me know. Okay? The one I carry, I think, is pretty, it's really, really good flavor. Okay? Both the vanilla and chocolate. Okay. A really good question came in, and just FYI, I was going through all of your feedback, which, by the way, the last week I got like 15 feedbacks. So you guys send me in your feedback. Come on, you should be doing much better than that. For those of you who sent it in, thank you, and keep it up, because this is part of your accountability. The more accountable you are, the better you will do in this challenge. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you the more accountable you are, the better you will do. Anyways, there's a couple that I've missed, and it wasn't done on purpose. It's just, well, not to go into too much detail, but this is a WordPress-based system. If I run through each entry without actually going, like if I run entry to entry, sometimes what happens is I don't know why the program misses certain entries, okay? So if I go look at the list form of entries, I can see the ones I've missed. So if I've missed yours, I'm getting to it, okay? Because I've missed them. All right, so with that said, let's get to some questions here. So this is a great question. Fat. When we follow the 3 pillars, will we proportionally lose visceral and subcutaneous fat at the same rate, or one before the other? All right, so I don't know. I can pretty much tell you, though, that it's highly unlikely that you'll lose at the same rate. This is beyond my scope. I don't know what, I mean, I could draw some theories on this, but I really don't know. You can expect your visceral to go down and your subcutaneous, obviously. Obviously, your subcutaneous. It's possible your visceral may not go down as much as your subcutaneous. Why that is, I don't know. It's just something I typically see. However, I will tell you something really interesting. I used to go in for DEXA scans. Actually, I'm going to go in for DEXA scans soon. It's an X-ray technology that measures your body fat. It's a little bit more expensive, and it's a little more time costly. It takes about 20-25 minutes to do. Maybe not 25 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. And this machine can tell you your amount of visceral and subcutaneous fat. When I went in for my last DEXA scan, I wasn't dieting for a show, so it's not like my body fat levels were super low. Okay, they weren't high, but they weren't super. They weren't at like the lowest they've ever been. Like I had done previous DEXA scans and been at a lower body fat. Okay, so I went in, I got a DEXA scan done, and Peter's the guy I go to. Peter says, "Holy cow!" After the last scan, he goes, "How did you lose so much visceral fat?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You lost tons of visceral fat. It's the lowest you've ever, had." And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm like, that's weird. Like I wasn't expecting that. I didn't really. I wasn't going in there with any expectation of that at all. Wasn't even thinking about it. And although I don't actually really know if this is true, I think you guys know by now I take apple cider vinegar and lime juice and salt, sea salt, every morning. And I take a decent amount of it every single morning. And I had been doing that for some time before I went in for this scan. That's the only difference. That's the only thing that I had been doing for a extended period of time. And it is theorized that apple cider vinegar helps you to lose visceral fat. I don't know if that's just coincidence, but that is something that that did happen. So maybe it was from that. I don't know, but visceral fat becomes harder to lose as you get older. We know that for sure. And so, I was only older at this time, obviously, relative to my earlier scans. I can't explain it. So I'm going on the fact that maybe this apple cider vinegar actually does help you to lose visceral fat. Although I must admit, I still am skeptical. All right, so take what you will from that. All right, next question. Also, this is the same line of questioning here. Can you realistically expect fat loss in all areas with continued adherence to the pillars? How hard is the fat roll to get rid of? Okay. So you typically will have your last reserves somewhere. Generally speaking, people do not hold fat evenly dispersed throughout the body, okay? It's just, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just, certainly it's genetic, but that doesn't explain why. So you're going to have these last areas, okay? For me, it's my back. I don't know what it is, like seriously, back. Like not just lower back, it is my back, which is why I call myself a pillow back sometimes. I don't know why, but it just tends to be, and the glutes to some degree as well. For some people, and I've seen this in ladies sometimes, it's the arms. But more often with ladies, it's usually thighs and glutes. Now, to some degree, some of that fat is hormonal based. It is like fat that you need for reproduction. And so how hard is it to get rid of? It depends on the person. It depends on where it sits. I know that sounds like I'm not really owning up to an answer. I do remember I always mention competitors to you guys because we're sort of like the pinnacle. When I talk about physique competition, bodybuilding, women's figure, that type of thing, we're sort of at the pinnacle of changing body composition. I've seen competitors before where their upper body is like ridiculously lean. There's one person in particular I can remember, it was a female, who was ridiculously lean, and her lower body was like, it was like a different body altogether. It's very, very interesting. Now that's a rare case, but you will have areas where you tend to lose last from, okay? So that's just the way it goes, okay? And then generally you will not get the fat off probably to the degree you like without getting super lean, okay? So the next question is, do we need surgical intervention? No, you definitely don't want surgical intervention for fat. Your fat is an organ. I'm going to say it again. Your fat cells act as an organ. Okay, we've got to get rid of this idea that, you know, fat in and of itself is bad, okay? Yeah, and like having too much of it's not a good thing, but we need some, and you can't get rid of fat cells without having a surgical intervention. And we'll get to the next question here in a second about that. So, I do not recommend removing your fat cells. They have like endogenous roles in the body. They release hormones. They help with things like regulating your appetite, okay, with energy production, with angiotensin, okay, all these different things in the body. They have a role, they have a physiological role. They do stuff. I mean, it's almost like saying, just imagine saying like, I don't know, your kidneys were like bulging out of your back or something. It looked really bad. Maybe I should just get my kidneys removed. No, the kidneys have a very important function, obviously, right? So what do you want to do then? You want to shrink those fat cells. How do you do that? Diet and exercise. That's how you do it, okay? It's continued diet and exercise. And like I've always been saying and preaching, for it to be continued, it has to be reasonable. It has to be reasonable. You can't be unreasonable forever. It has to be reasonable, okay? So, do not, please, I'm telling you right now, do not get surgery. And believe me, I've had clients who've had surgery before. And I'm going to tell you also, it doesn't look natural. It looks weird. It looks really strange because like you have these areas that are like saran wrapped, and these other areas that look like they're not, and it's just don't do it, okay? I'll say it again. Your fat cells act as an organ in the body. They do stuff to help you just function normally, okay? Tummy tuck or cool sculpting, for example. How realistic can we be? Okay, so this is surgical intervention. Tummy tuck, no, obviously not. We already talked about that. Cool sculpting, this is where there's an extreme amount of cold applied to the fat cells for an extended period of time. I think it's like 30 to 60 minutes. I don't really know if I believe this. But again, we don't want to kill the fat cells. We want the fat cells. We just want to shrink them. And I'm going to come back to this repetition, this narrative that I cannot stress enough. You've just got to be reasonable and consistent with your diet and your exercise. That's all it is, okay? That is the secret, if you even want to call it a secret, okay? It doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound like it's going to sell, but it's the truth, and that's, you know, part of the problem. That's part of the problem. Everybody wants a quick fix, right? Holy shit, it's 13 minutes? Okay, let's get to the message of the day. Message of the day is, and I gotta get to class here. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. It is the courage to continue. That's what counts. Hopefully this will be ongoing for you guys after the challenge. Okay? Maybe not to the degree and strictness that you're doing in the challenge, but hopefully you take away the bigger picture message in all of this. All right? For the sake of this challenge, you know, it is the courage to continue that counts. Truly it is. Remember, it feels great when you're successful, and that's fine, but don't ride that too high. And likewise, when you feel like you're failing or you're not doing well or whatever, it's not the end, okay? It's just the way things tend to go. It's never going to be, nothing goes like this. Nothing does, okay? All right? You're always going to have your bumps and hurdles. You just got to keep going, okay? All right, that's all I'm going to say. Positive energy, positive vibes. Believe in yourself, and for the love of God, give some gratitude. And I'll talk to you all very soon. I got my clicker. My clicker is charging. I'll see you guys.